Speaking of games, let's talk about now the good things that are going on surrounding the CrossFit Games, because the governor of California, Gavin Newsom, announced earlier this week,
Monday,
that sports could return to California by early June. Now, that is without spectators. So that if you're doing the math in your heads, early June is way before the CrossFit Games. That would be in late July. So that is a huge bump in the right direction for all of us who are hoping that this is going to take place in Aromas and we're going to get to watch it. So early June is the timeline. It's preliminary. And the return of sports will come with, quote, deep stipulations and very prescriptive conditions. Okay, so there's still some things that you're going to have to do to put on an event. This is a quote from Governor Newsom. He said, the bottom line is people can go at their own pace, and we are empowering our local health directors and county officials that understand their local communities and conditions. Okay, well, why is that important? That's because Aromas, correct me if I'm wrong here, Tommy, is located in Monterey County.
It is.
The last census that was done in 2010 put the population of Monterey County at about 2,600 people. It is a small county.
That's for the city.
Okay.
City. The county is much larger.
Okay.
Larger. Yeah.
The city is
2,600.
But it's still, population density wise, not one of the bigger counties.
No, because and anyone not familiar, there are parts of Monterey County that are all just agriculture. Mm-hmm. So you have these sprawling fields and hilly areas. It's beautiful, but it's just not super densely populated. Mm-hmm. And it backs up to Santa Cruz and Santa Clara counties that are more densely populated. So Monterey, especially as you get further south in South County, is not very populated at all.
Right.
Which is nice because, that lowers a lot of the likelihood that some of those statistics will not be met. And not to begin with, California, Monterey County has one of the lowest instances per capita of infections.
Exactly.
And deaths.
So all this is looking good. And so this state is one of the many now, I think of the 48 that are at least partially reopened. Restrictions are starting to come off slowly but surely. And under the old guidance, whatever was before we got to this one, 24 counties in mostly rural Northern California, which is where you would consider Monterey County, have already won approval to start to reopen some things. So the new criteria requires that counties must have no more than 25 cases per 100,000 residents, or no higher than an 8% positive rate among people testing for the coronavirus. All right, so that's part of it. So with all this, when you take all this into consideration, it looks like now the path to holding the games is much more clear than it was just a week ago. Now you're still going to have to make sure that you're keeping people safe, that you're observing the social distancing, right precautions. You're not going to be able to have fans, but we knew that wasn't going in. But we talked about this, that if you do this on a private residence, the red tape that you have to clear and the hoops you have to jump through are not as significant as if you were holding it at a public venue or something like that. But still, you're going to have some of that to deal with. But now it looks like that won't be as difficult to clear as it once was. And who knows now what happens at the end of June if things go well, maybe more restrictions come off. So if you were someone who like, I don't know if the games are going to happen, I am now more optimistic than I have ever been that we are going to see the CrossFit Games happen in Aromas.
Yeah, I would basically assume at this point that it's going to happen. I mean, I'm looking at some of the instances. So Monterey County in total has had 349 cases, and 243 have already been confirmed to be recovered. 8 deaths total, which is not very many. That's a pretty low infection rate. It has one of the lowest infection rates in the state. So I would bank that, especially, and you also have to think, you have to take geography into consideration too, right? There isn't really a metropolitan area in Monterey County. I think Salinas might be the biggest city population wise in Monterey County. And there's the tallest building in the city is the Taylor building downtown, which is like, 5-6 stories.
Right.
So everything is spread out. You have coastline, rural areas. So I just don't see it ever rising. Monterey County population as of 2019, I just looked that up, is 434,061. So
okay,
doing
but Aromas is what's super small.
Yes,
right.
super
that's
small.
like 2,600 people. So that's good.
Doing a little back of the napkin math here for you.
Stand by for math.
Divided by carry the 7. 4, 3, 4.
You figuring out percentages? Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, infection rate. So that has a less than point 0. Wow, a 0.08% infection rate.
So we're looking good.
Really good.
Yeah, that's
really
way
small.
under. Yeah,
way
so
under.
That's good. Now, there's still things that need to be taken into account here. International travel, that is not where we need it to be in order to have a full field. But I heard something the other day that the border between the United States and Canada will remain closed at least through the end of the month. All right. So, but listen, we still have time.
They were looking at first, second week of June, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah.
So the way that things are starting to be relaxed leads you to believe that we are going to have the right conditions that we need in order to have an event at the ranch in Aromas with the right athletes there competing. Now, that obviously that could all change if we have another huge outbreak and things go to hell again. Then that's restrictions come back on. And we're right back where we started.
Yeah,
but we seem to be moving in the right direction, and I'm certainly optimistic about where this is going. Mm-hmm. Now, with that being said, I think that CrossFit has a golden opportunity here.
Yeah,
if they're going to hold this event, because we wouldn't have seen any live in person event like we're used to seeing since February, March.
Yeah, with Brazil and
So that's the last event that we've had. You're going to have everybody watching your stream wanting to see how this thing's going to work. They need to regain momentum that has been lost not only from an interest in the sport standpoint, but season standpoint, just because we haven't had any events. I think they have a chance to put a fresh taste in people's mouths, a better taste in people's mouths that we had. I think it's safe to say it was a mixed reaction to last year among the fans. And I know the goal is to crown the fittest and all that, but I do think the fans need to be taken into account. Like, they're the ones paying for the tickets and watching the streams and buying the merchandise from the sponsors. Like, they want to be happy. So I think that if CrossFit can put on a great event here and they can lean into the history and they can show a lot of that historic footage, they can, I think, excite people about this again and build some momentum heading into the Open. Because when you look at the last two Opens, registration has dropped consistently over the last 2 years. For the first time since this thing started, they had a decrease in Open registration. And look, man, if they canceled the game, if they didn't do it this year, I wouldn't be, guaranteed it's probably going to drop again if they didn't have it. So I think they have an opportunity to recapture some people who may have left. Look, bring past champions to the ranch if possible, celebrate them, bring Kalipa, bring Salo, get, Katie Henniger, get Tanya Wagner, Jolie Gentry, Fitzgerald. If you can get those guys there, that'd be awesome. Yeah. And I think they did that in 2016 when they had everybody there. They celebrated some of the past champs as well. Like, that was great. So.
And it would be cool to have the Aromas champs there, specifically, like you said. And I think you're being generous when you say mixed reviews, because I think, there's a term obviously in the hoop world that the ball don't lie. Yeah. And the numbers don't lie here. Back-to-back decreases in Open registration, a significant one in the second time around would give clue that a lot of people weren't happy with the direction that the sport specifically was going, and how they went about making those changes. But yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a great opportunity to put on a world-class grassroots event.
Yeah.
Because which would be a nice way of refreshing everybody's mind, where the sport came from, give everyone a history lesson, which I think is very invigorating at times.
Yeah.
And
it's cool to see that old footage of people running up the hill with those sandbags and, see Miko and Kalipa and Tanya Wagner all competing there. Like, and Annie, when she first showed up, like, that stuff's awesome.
Yeah. And you know, if they bring some history in as far as the programming as well as beefing things up this year, there's a there's a great opportunity to. It's one of those things. It's like it feels like right now the games and CrossFit Inc.'s effort feels like that. That old timer that signs up for a rec league again that just wants to prove to himself that he can do it, just like he used to. And I think there's some doubt in people's minds, whether justified or not, that the games and CrossFit Inc. in their ability to provide a product that the community at large wants has lost their zip. They've lost
the fastball.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think this would go a long way for them to showing, hey, we still can if we want to. Because beyond just the ability of showcasing that you can, I mean, doing so shows that you care.
Right.
And CrossFit Inc. is notorious, and even when we were there, for not really giving a damn whether people or not know that they care, and thinking that the fact that they care is self-evident in everything that they do, no matter what, which is, I think, is mistaken way of thinking. But yeah, I just think it would be great to see them come back out, like what is it? Jordan after the baseball years coming back, and it's like, all right, I'm here, I care, and I'm ready to come back and do this.
And I think too that, and I said this before, I would love to see them do away with the cuts just for this year, considering that we have not seen all these athletes, and this is where you really have to start thinking of the fans, because you want to keep them happy. They have not seen these people compete in one location probably since the games last year. You've seen little pockets here and there at some of these events, but I think from a fan standpoint, if you guarantee them 4 days or 3 days or however many days of competition you're going to have, where they're going to get to see all of their favorites compete at the ranch in these awesome events with a well-produced stream that they can enjoy from home, I don't know who is not going to be on board with that. But if they go 2 events and then cut half the field, it's like, all right, here we go again. Like, I don't know if people want to see that. And I get that, why that, if you do that, why that puts more of an importance on each event, it ups the pressure a little bit. But I think this year fans just want to see all their favorites compete throughout the whole competition.
Yeah. Especially with how they were forced to cut this year already.
Exactly.
It's like the fans in community at large have had to make a lot of concessions. So I think it would be wise for the games crew to at least concede this.
No,
they may not even see it as a concession. They may already be like, yeah, we're going to keep everyone around. But I just think that they should do that.
No, I think that is the right way to go.